Well, well, well. Welcome back, everyone. And today, we will be painting another miniature. Well, 3 miniatures to be precise. And it are these miniatures right here. They're miniatures from... Put that right there. They're miniatures from a Patreon called the Artist Guild. I think they were 2 months ago that I got these. I think it was about 2 months. I've 3D printed them, so they're 3D printed, and they're on I want to say a 32 millimeter base, or roughly a little over 1.5 inches. So we'll be working on these 3. We'll be painting these all up. I made the base. I probably should have showed that step, but I didn't because I made these quite a while ago. But all I did is I took some milliput. Which I got from Hobby Lobby for about $8. Some yellow milliput, mixed the 2 parts together, equal parts, and I just kind of compressed that in there. And then I had a rock, just a regular slate rock, and I just kind of dabbed it in before I put him on there. And I just dabbed it in there. And then when I was done with that, then I seated him in there. And I did it that way. And I did that for all 3 of these. So his is a little different, though. You can see that he has like a foot coming out of there. Landed in like a battle action pose. This one's the same. Which, the base, I didn't take much time on it. It took me maybe like a minute, not even, for all 3 of them. So the longest part was just mixing the 2 compounds. But what it will look like once we're done is something like this. This is another miniature that I painted. Also, she has a gloss coat over her, but she doesn't have the matte finish, so I'll have to do that next. But you see, this is what the base will look like. Obviously, again, this is shiny, kind of looks like watered mud, but once we put the matte finish on there, it'll be a lot duller. Actually, hold on. Here we go. This one. It looks something like this. Oh, if we can get a good... There, see that? That's kind of what it... Actually, let me zoom in on this. There. That's kind of what it would look like. Again, you guys know that I like my miniatures rough and dirty and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to be replicating the same kind of concept here on these miniatures. So where are we going to start? We have our two solo cups, right? One clean. The other one's clean too, but we have the 2 mixtures, right? We have the clean pot, dirty pot. That's how we keep those. I have my standard brushes still. I still got my Reapers. Oops. My Reaper. You know what? These things, I think, they gotta go. They gotta go. Sorry, little guys. But you keep messing up with the focus. Alright. There we go. Look at that. So, no. It's, you can do this, phone. You can do this. There we go. Look at that. So it's a number 2 flat brush from Reaper. We also got the same one that we were using before, the 0 Reaper, the 0.1, the detail brush. Then I got some other detail brushes. This is a soft bristle. We got our big old roundy brush here, which we'll probably use for the base when we get that far, but bases are usually the very last thing that we do. These 3 right here are all the paint brushes that I'm going to need. So if you're looking to get started and you don't know where to go, just get these 2 right here. These 2 Reaper brushes. You'll get most of all your detail work done with these. And then if you want something for like bigger strokes or something like that, just buy the quick packs, because you know this part doesn't matter. It's the detail brushes that matter. So just get yourself a couple small detail brushes and you'll be good to go. Okay. And also we got a little bitty mixing pot here. It's still the same. I did kind of mess up on when we were working on that Kirby, and I put my pail over here, which it should have been over here, not over here, because these are normally my 2 darker colors. But it doesn't matter. It's all dry. It's solid as a rock. Okay. So what I normally do is I look at my miniatures If we zoom in here, if we zoom in. Oh, you know what? Hold on. You're probably asking yourself, Pookie and Crab, why did they look like that? What? They didn't print off like that, did they? Well, no. I sprayed a primer coat, a flat gray primer coat, the one I showed you in the first painting video. And then what I did is I did a zenithal highlight. That's what they call it, zenithal highlight. And what it is just from the top angle, just from like the top, like coming shooting down like this, with another white matte spray paint, I just kind of hit it, and it gives all these like rich shadows that we can see. Now, most of them won't transfer into the paint because I'm not that good. But what it does do is it kind of gives me a understanding on. So if I zoom out here, where people will be seeing most stuff. So those are where I should try to focus on the details. So I can kind of think of it as like an outline, I guess. So same on this one. So a lot of people will be seeing his face. They really won't be seeing the underside of him or anything like that. But this is because he's so open here, you can see a lot of people will see the details here. So we're going to be working on that. Okay, but enough talk. Let's get to painting, right? That's what we came here for. So what we'll do is we'll start off with the browns, I think. Because if we look under here, let's zoom in here. I'm going to take my brush so I can point. So right here, this, I don't believe is plate. This is probably plate. This is probably a leather. Because if we look on this side, those are plates, and that means that this probably right here is all leather. Leather, that's probably some sort of leather. This is probably some sort of plate, leather right in here, leather right in there, leather on his tuchus, on his belt. And if we go over to this guy, looks like the same concept. Leather right there, leather right there. So yeah, we're going to want probably a little bit of a darker gray on those locations. So I have, not gray, brown. So I have a few browns here. Oh wait, whoops, we have one more. One more brown. Here we go. So we have harvest brown, we have leather brown, and then we have the desert sand. Now, I'm probably going to be using all of these, but the desert sand, I want to use on, oops, that fell over. I want to use on the straps, and I also want to use them on the little bitty pouches, because I think this guy is a pouch too. Yeah, this guy is a pouch too. I want to use the desert sand on those, just for little accents. So that's going to be the desert sand. Now you're probably thinking to yourself, well, why not just use the harvest brown, I said it, the leather brown? Well, leather brown would be good, but it's so light, and if we put that on the entire thing, we won't be able to bring out other colors. So let's go back to this guy real quick. See these straps right here? I want to make those stick out more than the actual leather on him. So if I make the leather on him the dark brown, this harvest brown, and then I make the straps on his sword this leather brown, it'll give him more contrast on, like, hey, he's darker than his swords are. So I'm going to get everything kind of tidied up, and we'll be right back. Okay, and we're back. We're going to start off with the lead Belcher. We're going to start off with this. Put some on my palette. I got a little bit of water on my brush. Nice thin coats. As always, I'm using the detail brush. Once I take off my glasses, because I can't see, because I'm an old blind man. And yeah, we're just gonna hit all of them like that. Trying to avoid any of the areas where we think they could be conceived as leather. And you just touch everything. It doesn't need to be perfect. This is the very first layer. Now, lead Belcher is a very, very strong metallic paint. We'll only need one layer. But now what I mean is, we're going to have to do some touch-ups. Once we put on the actual leather color, we're going to need to do some stuff. But look at that. That is already looking really cool. Remember to keep our brush nice and moist. And yeah, let's just hit all of this stuff. Again, we don't have to be perfect with this stuff because, again, we're going to be putting on multiple layers of another color. So just get it on there. You can be a little rough with it if you want. But this is a good time. This is a good chance, I should say, to practice on your detail, on your brush detail. Because the more practice you get out of it, the better you become. And in this particular instance, the detailing that we're doing here isn't really that big of a deal. So what people would mostly do, like speed painters and stuff like that, they would just blast that stuff on there because they know that the next layers are going to get covered up all those mistakes that you make. So they just blast through it. What we're trying to do is we're trying to hone our skills, right? We're trying to perfect what we know. And to do that, we need to take our time and act as if every single instance is us detailing. Just keeping a moist brush. Now, when you get metallic paints kind of moist, they start acting a little squirrely. Weird stuff starts to happen, and it kind of like splits almost. So when that starts to happen, just, lay off on the water. You went a little too heavy, which is okay, which is fine. But yeah, you don't need that much water for metallic paints because it's so thick. Especially lead Belcher. Lead Belcher is a very thick paint. But we're trying to make it as thin as possible so we don't lose any of our detail. That's the biggest thing. Yes, we are using a very thick paint, but we're trying to thin it down the best we can so we don't lose any of that detail. I don't think there's enough on this, so I'm gonna come back on that. And once it's dry a little bit, you can kind of see, like, hey, that didn't go on thick enough, so I'm gonna just give it another little layer. This is a small layer. But yeah, we're going to do the same on his chest here. Just kind of hit all this. Oops, my tripod's kind of moving on me. And we'll just hit all these areas. And again, just take your time. We're in no rush here. No rush at all. And you see in these darker places that didn't get the highlight, we know that, see, so for instance right here, you can barely see it. So we don't really need to worry too much about actually getting everything on there because once we hit it with the wash, it's just all going to be black anyway. So it doesn't really matter. So don't worry too much about it. That's another thing that I would say newbies, I guess, is a way to put it. Newbies really worry about it. They think that every single inch of the figure will be seen. And, well, that's just not true. You know what I mean? Most of the figure actually won't be seen because, remember, we're somebody who's looking at almost like a God's eye view, right, at the table. So there's no way that we'll be able to see everything on the table itself. So, yeah, just paint the pieces that need to be painted, and then move on. My tripod, I tell you what. I think it's also kind of my fault because I'm touching it. So I can't blame all of it on the tripod. So this is going to be a little tricky one, but we'll get it in there. There we go. Tricky only in the sense of I got a big huge tripod in my way. Making sure we have a nice moist brush. And then just putting that on there. Just like that. Again, we're just trying to practice our detail work here, even though most of this will all be taken away. Once we add all the different colors, we're going to have to do touch-ups. So again, don't feel too bad if you actually did get some in there or get some on his hand or whatever, because we'll have to touch it up anyway. Once we add the Nuln Oil, oh man, this stuff is going to pop. You know what I mean? This is going to look like really awesome looking armor. I guarantee it. You guys are going to like it. But yeah, you see we're just putting on very thin coats, very easy. Not reinventing the wheel or anything. Look at that. Look at that. Going on nice and easy. Oops. There we go, and it looks like his arm, if I zoom in here, it looks like that elbow piece is an arm too. I think. Oh, hold on, I think it is. I'm not too sure. Let's just paint it, and maybe when we get further down the line, we'll know what it is. Because I'm not too sure what that is. Yeah, so I'm thinking I'm going to paint the swords some kind of strange color. I want something to be unique on this figure, and I mean, yeah, I could paint the swords also the same lead Belcher. You could do that, and I mean, if that's what you want to be cohesive, go ahead and go for it. You know what I mean? Like that's fine. I personally just want something a little different on it, so I'm going to. Oops. Sorry, that one got out of focus. So I'm personally going to shoot for something different. So I'm not going to paint his swords. But look, there it is. All right. So I'm going to do the same thing on both of these. The same idea. Paint just a lead, and then we'll be back in the next episode of painting these figures. Till next time, I'll see you all later. Peace out.